Hello, welcome back. I'm Miniature Mike, and today we're going to do a little bit more of a fun video. Still a character review and comparison, but instead of doing, one of like the traditional characters or powerful characters, I thought it'd be fun to kind of branch out. And for this one, do Ewoks, and I'll do other, like common, uncommon, and like regular types of characters as well. If there's any you want to see, let me know. I already did one that's kind of on the basic troopers, but I'll probably do some other cool ones later on. So let's jump into this one. Ewoks, what do we got? So, we'll see if I have some hot takes for you, but we've got 6 different Ewoks to look at, so jumping into it. First off, we just got regular Ewok from Rebel Storm. These guys are known as being one of the cheapest grunts in the game. There's, 3, 10, 12, 1, and 10 melee attack and swarm. There's a couple other grunts that are pretty cheap, like Rhodium Brute, that's alright, and then there's the Geonosian Drone, which I don't like at all personally. I like these guys more. They're fringe, therefore you can pair them with a lot more interesting things to make their gruntness a little bit more potent. But yeah, I think a regular Ewok, they're alright. They have Swarm. The thing I think about Swarm is all okay, is you need to buoy these guys up with some other stuff. But the thing I like about Swarm is it's a very nice, rushing power for someone really, weak and cheap. You rush Ewoks up at, an enemy, they'll probably cut them down, but, if things work out and you have a lot of them, you can swarm the enemy. So you can approach, you probably already have Ewoks surrounding an enemy, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, and that's already a little bit of a buff to your attack. And then on top of other buffs you give, that could be actually an alright power. So, nothing too crazy about these guys, but just taking a look, I think they're, a fair unit. Not like great, not bad, but for a grunt, they're alright. So for a 3, I'm just saying they have good hit points, because all 3s have 10. It's just pretty average, so just normal hit points for a 3. Survivability, they got none. Their attack is, actually decent. It's pretty normal for a 3. 3s don't have much attack. Max damage is normal. Special abilities, I think having Swarm on him is good. Like the Geonosian Drone doesn't got one, and the Brute has, I think, stable footing, which is okay. So I like Swarm for how cheap this is. Ability synergy, I think it's pretty good. It's all about getting those Ewoks together, rush them. It kind of depends on other people, but for an Ewok, it's okay. Versatility, I don't think, versatility in terms of their powers. They're really just, Ewoks are really just kind of, these grunt rusher people kind of, that you just kind of run around, switch positions, whatever, or, get a big mob of them. So I don't think they're necessarily super versatile, they're just kind of meant for that one thing. For an Ewok score, I just gave them a 3. I think they're just, very solid as they come, just, decent swarmer. Pretty cheap. And so yeah, summary, just I think it's a cheap melee swarmer, not bad. You can easily buff them with commander effects. The Ithorian commander comes to mind. That's always a fun one. And then I like better than the Geonosian Drone, who also has swarm at this cheap level. Next is Ewok Hangglider. This is a rare Ewok that's not unique, which is kind of fun. So he's a 7. Similar stats before, a little bit better, with 10, 13, 2, 10. This guy's got flight, strafe, and swarm. So it's kind of fun. I think this is just kind of a lot of fun flavor here. It's going to be hard, and that's going to be too hard to use strafe. You'll have to get other Ewoks into position. Then you can go on a little strafe attack round. You're really cheap. Maybe if you get a fun commander effect with this guy to kind of buff him a little bit, could be a little fun. I also don't think it's that great, to be honest with you. I think it looks cool on paper, but strafe works a lot better, with speeders, with large bases. It works better with people that, have more speed. Like a speeder bike, just something that has, a 2x2 or 3x3 with flight or whatever. That, I think that's really where it excels, is because you can have lots of surface area, you can run around, you can blast tons of targets. Maybe not as well when you have a small character like this. So, kind of fun. It's not really supposed to be that strong. Maybe it should be even a 6 in cost, but so taking a look at the stats on the left, I just kind of gave it a fair score. I don't think it's bad. It isn't bad, but it's not too crazy. It's a cool looking mini though. So he's got his hit points is poor. Even at 7s, you might occasionally get a 20 hit point character. Range survivability and the melee not so great. At least he has flight, so there's something there, I guess. But still not good. Attack is poor. You can get it a little bit better with strafe, if you have the swarm going. Special abilities is solid. I think there's really good. These are good special abilities for sure. His synergy is really good. Versatility is not too great. Gotten a lot of setup to make this guy work out. An Ewok score, I gave him a fair score. At the end of the day, I think it's better to just have cheap Ewok spam rather than something, kind of interesting or niche like this. But I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun mini. I don't have it. I need to collect it, but it's all right. Blue Milk wasn't very favorable on these guys. And they're a little bit more, they're one of the more expensive Ewoks to collect, actually, about $13. So, fun idea. Good luck getting the Swarm to work effectively. You need to get those guys, Ewoks, up close, and then he may be going a little strafe attack, but, probably die before that happens. But yeah, it's kind of fun, but nothing too crazy. Next, we got the Ewok Warrior, which, I think when they made it, they thought it was going to be good on paper, but it's bad, in my opinion. So, he's a 5 cost now, same as Stormtrooper, Rebel Trooper, all that kind of stuff, Recruit. Hit points 10, 12, 2, and then 10, and then he has Swarm as well. So it's just hilarious because by default, his stats are the same. He's the same cost as a lot of other characters that, classic shooters with 5, those cheap grunts, but he has way worse stats. And he can get better stats, with Swarm, and the thing with Swarm as well is you really depend on other people, running and approaching. So you'll need to have other people approach, and then after they approach, then you can attack. But Swarm's not gonna. It's not gonna. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's okay. It's just the problem with this though is I just don't like that he has such a big hit. So you need to even equal a Rebel Trooper. You need 3 or 4 guys surrounding a target, and that's probably not very realistic. So by default, you're just using something that's worse. At least it's fringe, but taking a look overall, the hit points are, so overall, oh no, I screwed this up. His overall is not good. I'm actually going to fix that right now because it's going to bother me. Let's see here. Yeah, that's going to bother me a lot. That is poor. There we go. Can I spell? I can't spell. Let's go. Yeah, okay, I think I screwed that up a bit. There we go. Okay. So, moving on. These guys, I think they're poor overall. I prefer to just have a cheap grunt that can rush, like I said before. Hit points are meh. Range survivability is not good. It's got really nothing going for him. Max attack, not good either. His max damage is normal because everyone does 10 damage at this level. His ability synergy, I don't think it's quite as good because you have less control over it, but I don't know. And it's a range unit, so you really need other units, other Ewoks to get up there. I don't think he's very versatile. I don't think he's very good Ewok, so I just think he's a ranged swarmer, so whatever that means. I think he's a bad idea. I think Swarm is better. Just do rush or gang tackling. Don't worry about shooting. And then yeah, that's the thing as well. As a shooter, he just by default has terrible stats. Way worse than a 5 normally would have. So not my cup of tea. But let's get on to something more fun. So here's Wicket. Classic, a lot of fun. So he's 8, 20 hit points, 16 defense, 6 attack, 10 damage. He's got Ewok, Stealth, Swarm, and Traps. I think Stealth and Traps is a really sweet combo for a few reasons we'll get to. And there's a lot of great things you can put him with. I've always had fun putting him in super stealth squads, because then you can make he can just be really even more annoying than he already can be. So I think he's a lot of fun. So overall, I think he's great. So 4.17 on my final composite rating. I think he's really good. Just really good overall for hit points. 8s can still have 10 hit points, but he's got 20, so that's good. Range survivability is amazing. For an 8, he's got as best as it got. He's already got high defense. He's already got stealth. So you got all those things for someone that cheap. That's as good a survivability as you're gonna get for someone that's that cheap. And I don't think people that cost 8 too often are gonna have a lot of stuff that's gonna make him even better. And he's got traps, which even helps in its own way. So his melee survivability, not good. It's not the worst because he has solid defense. And traps can help if he's counterattacking, but he is cheap. So I think it's alright. His attack though is exceptional for an 8. It's as good as it gets. And this is kind of why. So it's already a 6, which is solid. And he has Swarm, so you can build it upon there. But Traps, by default, is like a +4 attack, basically, because, with Stealth, you could probably count on most enemies approaching you to attack you. If you get Super Stealth, that can happen too. But for the most part, if melee people come up to you, or, if you're not the nearest enemy and people have to come within 6 squares, then Traps works. And Traps is basically like, okay, now I basically have 10 attack, essentially. That's kind of really what it is at the end of the day. So that kind of factoring in for an 8 costing piece to sort of have 10 attack a lot of the time, that's actually kind of crazy. So I'm giving it an exceptional score for that. It's max damage though, 10 damage is not great, of course. Has got awesome special abilities. I love Traps. This can be a lot of fun. This guy's a great support piece. Just awesome, tons of fun support piece. Even if you're not rolling other Ewoks, you can be good at that. So his ability synergy, exceptional. These things work together. Stealth and Traps is awesome. Good versatility. Like I said, great support piece. And for Ewok score, I gave him the top score. I think he's a ton of fun. Great support for any team. If there's characters that have really, really high defense, you have other characters that are solid, but maybe they're struggling against certain characters that have high defense. Bring him in as support, and bam, it's going to make it tremendously easier to be able to land your hits. So Blue Milk agrees. They gave him an 8.0, good score. Swarmer, Saboteur, cost about $12 on eBay. And yeah, Traps is basically a double buff, like I said, to his attack. Most enemies, you can't target him until you get too close, and then once you do, his attack essentially goes up, and everybody's does too, so it's awesome. So super fun ad, great support piece, and a lot of fun. So we got Ewok Scout next. Blue Milk's not as high on these guys. I actually really like him. I've had a lot of fun with him. So he's a 6, 10, 16, 4, and 10, so that's actually still pretty nice defense. Melee, Cunning, Stealth, and Swarm, so I really like all these powers. I know it's maybe less enticing because they cost 6. They're not like a cheap grunt, but at least they already have, respectable attack, nice defense. Swarm, so you can keep stacking it. Cunning attack, so you can keep stacking more attack as well. So I like what he's got here. Sometimes it's fun to roll these guys with Nom and Nor, so you can have these little Ewoks that rush and blow up. But that's a fun strategy. I'll have to make a video about that one because those can be kind of fun. So overall, I think I think they're really good. I really do. If you put them in the right squads, I think they can be a lot of fun. They're still cheap, but their hit points not so good. Not terrible, but just poor. Range survivability, I think is for a 6 costing piece. I think is great because you have the high defense and you have stealth, and on a 6, you can't really ask for much more than that. So melee survivability is poor. The attack's good. Max damage, I think, is pretty solid once you factor in cunning attack. Awesome special abilities. I think their ability synergy is great, with Cunning and Swarm. And even if you mix these guys to some other Ewoks, this guy can be kind of the heavier hitter, the high attack, more damage. So I think that could be really good. They still benefit from a lot of commander effects. So I think the versatility is fair. The synergy is great. I think the Ewok score is great as well. I really like what I see here. I know that costs 6 points, it turns you off, but there's some fun options. So anyways, I think they're underrated. I think the power synergizes really well to be a stealth rusher. And you can pair with other cheaper Ewoks so that they can kind of be more of they can kind of give you that swarm attack, and then be their own fodder as well. So I don't know, a lot of fun. And like I said, mix it with Nom and Nor, you can make some fun squads. So that's Ewok Scout. And then for our last but not least, we have Logray, Ewok Shaman. He's kind of fun. So 12 cost, 30 hit points, 15 attack, so 15 defense, 5 attack, 10 damage. And then we're looking at unique melee and opportunist. So if you need to make a decent melee attack, that's actually not bad at all. And then force powers, so he has 2 opportunities to do force corruption. So he can do 10 automatic, so 20 automatic damage total, unless he finds ways to get more force. And that's corruption, which is kind of fun. So for being a little cheap character that can do a little bit of force corruption, I think it's kind of fun. Maybe not like the craziest thing ever, but it's cool. It's kind of fun. So overall, I think he's good. He's a 2.91, so he's fun. He's all right. His hit points are fair. Very bad range. Very bad range survivability. He has nothing helping him range-wise. I guess the defense is all right. So maybe I'm being a little too harsh here, but that's why this is all kind of subjective. It's hard to fine-tune it. Melee survivability is bad. Attack is fair. Helped with Opportunist, of course. He's got good damage. And I'm kind of factoring in, things like having Opportunist, having maybe lingering damage from Corruption. So it's okay. For a 12, it's good. Good abilities. I think his Force powers are good. For a cheap character, have Force Corruption twice. And if you do a fun kind of mixture squad where maybe he gets more Force points, maybe he gets, I don't know, just something else to kind of help him do a little bit more, that could be kind of fun. So yeah, overall I think his versatility is decent. And I think if you use him as a cheap support piece to do some corruption with someone, that could be kind of fun. Ewok score, I give him a 3.5. Like, I think he's really good. Definitely above average. Blue Milk is kind of similar in agreement with what I'm thinking. Yeah, so eventually he's overall specialties is a corruptor, approximately on eBay, still pretty cheap, $7. And in summary, yeah, I think Force Corruption 1 is kind of a fun support power if you don't want to spend like $1 million cost on someone with like, I don't know, Revan or other people with, Force Corruption. It's kind of less enticing. Then yeah, I think the okay melee stats are okay. So I think he's all right. A fun support piece, nothing too crazy, nothing too terrible. It's kind of fun. So let's take a look at these guys, break them all down. So in last place, we have the Ewok Warrior. No surprise. Not that awesome. Overall, I think he's just kind of maybe misexecuted. The Ewok Hanglider next. Kind of fun and quirky, but would prefer a large base with strafe attack. Ewok, decent, cheap, moldable, just kind of garbage piece. Logray, the Ewok Shaman's next up. Very solid, kind of fun, kind of quirky. Ewok Scout, I think they're really cool. They cost a little bit, but I like that defense. I like the powers. I like having stealth, cunning, and I think you can mix them with some other nice people to buff them even more for how cheap they are. And then finally, Wicket, who's clearly in first place, 4.17. A blast, great powers, awesome support with traps, definitely, and he can shoot too, so don't forget that. And then here's the whole breakdown. I won't go into too much. I'll just kind of leave this matrix up here if you want to take a look at it. I'll make this a little smaller for you. But yeah, so overall, nothing too crazy about these guys. They have their purpose. They're swarmers, they're fodder. Some of them maybe a little bit do it better than others. You can do mixtures of Ewok Scouts. You could do the Ewok Hanglider if you want, try to set it up right, but probably a little bit too much work. But in general, I definitely recommend Wicket. I think he's a fun support piece. I think Ewok Scouts and the right squads can be also a blast. And then, if you can find a fun place to stick Logray in, go ahead and do it, but maybe not necessarily going to blow your socks off, but kind of fun. So anyways, that's going to do it for Ewoks. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. I'd love to hear, what you think about Ewoks in general. What kind of uses do you have for them? Are they, pretty much useless? I'm sure they're not very meta, but it doesn't matter. I think they're kind of fun if you use them correctly. I haven't really used them that much, except I do like using Ewok Scouts. I have some fun. I'll make a squad about them. I think they can be kind of sweet. But yeah, anyways, I'll leave it there. And again, I'd also like to hear what other, just, could be unique character, could be like a class of non-unique characters. Definitely shoot it my way. I'll take a look at them, and I love to kind of get more of that engagement. It's been awesome. So anyways, I'll leave it there, and I hope you guys have a great night.